I think the market is super focused on clarity at this point, and by that I mean they want a confirmation that the Fed is going to continue on exactly the path that is currently priced into the market. I think anything that was any kind of a print that would be too strong, I would say significantly north of 200,000, or too weak, which I would say, sub 110, would rattle the market, either change the calculation for how the Fed is going to be thinking about raising rates and or potentially change the path of this normalization, which everyone wants and frankly has baked into stock prices.
So not too high.
I feel like it's like we want this kind of Goldilocks number to give comfort that the bottom end of the equity range is going to be well supported.
Austan, you think that's the case just in terms of what the Fed might be considering for any of these things? Could a strange number, too hot or too cold, rattle the Fed a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I think the Goldilocks range is getting wider. I think the Fed has basically decided it's going to do what it's going to do. And barring a really extreme number, it's not going to change. Now, I think the dynamic of the president actually getting up and tweeting, has he ever tweeted anything about the jobs numbers before? I think he just illegally tipped that the number is going to be good. I'm surprised there's not more attention on that.
Well, we were talking a little bit about this. I don't recall ever seeing the president tweeting a number like this. But then again, I wake up a lot of mornings and I don't recall seeing some of the things that he's tweeted.
That would be highly unusual, and it's just flat out breaking the law. You get the number the day before. The CEA chair comes in, gives it to the president, describes to him what it is. If the president got up and violated the one sacred oath of the jobs numbers, which is don't release it before, that would be pretty bad.
He's not giving you the number or saying it's going to be. He says,
yeah, but it doesn't matter. You could not, if the CEA chair got up and said, "Hey, we're really looking forward to the numbers,"
then
they would go to jail.
If it's a good number, by default, we're all going to sit around as we are right now
and conjecture. But that's all it will be.
But
if it's a lousy number,
okay. So tell that to Robert Mueller.
I mean, so you're guaranteeing it's going to be a good. So you're guaranteeing it's going to be a good number, Austan, or you think it's going to be a good number?
If it is a good number, then the president better watch himself because he likely broke the law.
If it's not, then it didn't. That's the plausible deniability.
Then if it's not, then that's great.
Here, I'm going to be Sarah Sanders. Fine. Here's Sarah Sanders later.
Why is being Sarah Sanders?
I'm just going to say how they would explain this. They would say, this is what they'd say. Of course he's looking forward to it. He's got the economy killing it. Of course he's looking forward to it every month. But that's what they would say.
Tell it to the jury.
Just because Sarah Sanders
says it to the jury.
What's that?
Tell it to the jury.
The futures were at about 130 when he tweeted. They're still at 130. Nobody has made any money betting on it at this point. If you want to buy some calls on the S&P, then do it. You don't. Nobody knows at this point.
Oh, come on.
Let me ask.
I agree with you, and I hope that that's not true. I hope he did not tip the hand, because that would be really disturbing.
But let me ask this.
Not as disturbing as the steel tariffs, but still pretty disturbing.
What would be a strong number? I mean, the president's idea of a strong number and what you and Kate just laid out as your ideal number are maybe a little bit different, because maybe the president would like to see north of 200,000 to say that we are putting more Americans back to work. But you all just seem to think that a number that's right in line with expectations is probably better, right? Austan?
Oh, I think the president for sure wants over 200. If it could be 240, he'd be thrilled. And actually, we should be thrilled. If we got a big number like that, it'd be great.
What do you think the chances are it's above 200? Do you think that with that tweet, it's now like 80% that it's above 200?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Wow.
It's funny because it's unless you actually find a paper trail or something, it's just going to be conjecture. And it's funny the way he does these things.
It's not funny.
I think it is because he's trolling his haters, and they're all ready to jump to the conclusion that it's inside info.
Yes,
but
it is.
But it can never go beyond conjecture
but I don't
unless
think anyone was thinking
truth.
the number was going to be exceptionally weak this month.
Right.
I mean, if everyone was kind of
going to be really
if forecasts were calling for 80,000 and everyone was saying there's a real dearth of available candidates.
And then he came out and said
And then he said that would be a little bit different. But, the consensus at 190. We're not actually in a bad place.
He trolls people that are consistently questioning everything he does. It's funny to watch.
You think he puts this tweet out just to
I think it's funny to watch you and Austan. And I've got, but my viewers see it a different way. They're saying they do see it that way.
Michael, what do you think?
You know, I'm kind of regretting that I didn't put some money on the S&P this morning.
Not too late. What's the problem?
I'm here in the studio.
But by the way, we know actually, but remember, there could be a winner's curse in all of this. That's the thing we keep, you know.
And good news can be bad news,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The good news, you could be betting on the S&P.
May be bad news for the S&P.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right. That's right. Don't overthink it.
Well, it's also going to be hard to disaggregate because we get good sort of political news out of Europe. People are feeling a little bit better. We had a nice rally in the Euro stocks. So it's going to be hard to say at the open how much of this is going to be jobs driven, even if it is a stronger number than consensus expects, and how much of it is actually.
Right. We were up 133 points above fair value before we heard any of these tweets. So we'll see how much it runs up from there or drops down from there. But Kate, let's talk a little bit about the broader issues facing the markets.
Yeah.
We've talked so much about what's been happening in Europe this week, and then with the trade concerns. How do you kind of figure all of this out, and why do you think the market's reaction is more muted to the trade concerns? Because somebody made the point, I think it was Ben White this morning, that if we had been having this conversation 3 months ago about what just happened with the trade tariffs, markets would be in a much worse place. What's happened over time?
Well, okay, so 3 months ago, we didn't have this exceptionally strong earnings year already kicked off. At that point, it was just hope and expectation that a lot of it would be driven by tax cuts. But I think what we have now, after first quarter earnings, and as companies have been giving more guidance and announcing more investment plans, announcing more buybacks, is real confirmation from companies that there's organic growth, that there's sustainability to it, and that it's not just about a one-time boost to earnings from the tax cut. So I'd say that's one of the reasons why I think we have this floor in the trading range, especially for U.S. large cap stocks. But in terms of, how to think about the markets, there's so many pushes and pulls, right? We have the geopolitics, we have strong earnings, we have good consumer demand, we have concerns around tariffs. I mean, it's hard to make a single strong and conclusive narrative. And therefore, I think that's why we're going to, stay in this trading range for a little while, but not necessarily plunge below. We'd have to have some real meaningful deterioration in the fundamentals. It's just not showing up.
Austin, you said earlier that the tweet this morning was bad from the president, but not nearly as bad as the tariffs. There has been universal condemnation from both sides of the political aisle when it comes to these new tariffs and the things that have been put out there. But there have also been people who have pointed out that, hey, we have not gotten a fair shake in the past. How do we shake things up and get to a better place with some of our trade arrangements? What would you say to all of that?
Well, it's conflating a whole bunch of different issues. When the president said about China that they were stealing our intellectual property and we should be rough with them and try to get them to stop that, I completely agreed, if you remember. And I said, the way to do that is to get our allies on the same page and let's all go down there as a unit and force their hand. This is the exact opposite. I think there's actually a decent chance that with the president's action against our allies, Canada, Mexico, and Europe, that China is going to go to Europe and Canada and Mexico and say, will you join us in filing a WTO grievance against the United States? And our own allies are going to actually stand up and do that. If that happens and it kicks off a trade war, we're going to be in recession. So I really hope that he just kind of backs away from this the way he has at previous times when the market reacted badly.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.